Have you ever looked at a really big stone and wondered how it got there? Well, imagine whole structures made of them. These are called megaliths. The word megalith literally means great stone. It comes from two old Greek words, megas, which means great, and lithos, which means stone. These aren't just any old rocks scattered about. They are enormous stones that ancient people shaped, moved, and set up in deliberate patterns. We're talking about structures that have stood for thousands of years, long before written history began to tell us their stories. It's a fantastic puzzle that archaeologists like me love to get our teeth into. These monuments are silent witnesses to a very distant past, a time of incredible effort and mystery. When we think of megaliths, one famous place often springs to mind: Stonehenge in England. Those massive standing stones arranged in a perfect circle are a true icon of the ancient world, but Stonehenge is just one piece of a much larger global jigsaw. All over the world, you can find these incredible stone structures. In Egypt, the Great Pyramids of Giza stand as a testament to the skill of their builders. On the remote Easter Island in the Pacific Ocean, hundreds of giant stone heads called moai stare out across the landscape. Each one of these sites is a marvel of engineering and a clue to understanding the people who lived so long ago. The timeline for these constructions is simply mind-boggling. The earliest megaliths pop up during the Neolithic period or the New Stone Age, and building continued right into the Bronze Age. We're talking about a period stretching from roughly 4000 BC all the way to 1500 BC. That means some of these structures are older than the pyramids themselves. The people who built them were often early farmers. They had settled down, started growing crops and raising animals, and were forming the first real communities. It seems that as soon as people had a bit of stability, they started wanting to build something big, something that would last forever. The cultures responsible for these monuments were as varied as the structures themselves. In Western Europe, from Portugal to Sweden, Neolithic farming communities were erecting everything from single standing stones called menhirs to complex passage tombs like Newgrange in Ireland. In the Mediterranean, the people of Malta were building some of the oldest freestanding stone temples on Earth. Across the globe, different groups of people, with no apparent contact with each other, all came up with the same brilliant idea. Let's build something massive out of stone. This shared impulse is one of the most fascinating aspects of the whole megalithic phenomenon. The sheer global scale of megalith building is astonishing. It wasn't just a European thing. If you travel to Africa, you can find the Nabta Playa stone circle in the Egyptian desert, which is even older than Stonehenge. In West Africa, the Senegambian stone circles in Gambia and Senegal mark ancient burial grounds. These sites show that the tradition was widespread across different African cultures over thousands of years. Each one tells a local story, a unique chapter in the grand narrative of humanity's relationship with stone. It makes you realize that big ideas can spring up anywhere, at any time. Over in Asia, the story continues. In South Korea, you'll find thousands of dolmens, which are tombs made of large flat stones. These sites, like Gochang and Hwasun, are so important they've been recognized as UNESCO World Heritage Sites. On the Indonesian island of Sumba, ancient traditions of building stone slab graves and monuments continue even today, providing a living link to the megalithic past. Even in the remote highlands of Assam in India, mysterious collections of giant carved stone jars have recently been uncovered, adding another piece to this incredible global puzzle. It's a reminder that there's still so much out there waiting to be discovered. The Americas also have their share of ancient stone marvels. While maybe not megalithic in the classic Old World sense, the scale of stonework is just as impressive. Think of the massive city of Teotihuacan in Mexico with its Pyramid of the Sun. Or look at the incredible precision of Inca stonework in places like Sacsayhuaman in Peru, where enormous boulders are fitted together so perfectly, you can't even slide a piece of paper between them. These cultures may have come later, but they clearly shared the same ambition and skill as their Stone Age predecessors across the Atlantic. And then, of course, there's Oceania, home to the famous Moai of Rapa Nui, or Easter Island. These colossal statues, some weighing over 80 tons, were carved from volcanic rock and transported miles across the island. It was an incredible feat of organization and labor for a small, isolated community. Elsewhere in the Pacific, on the islands of Micronesia, the city of Nan Madol was built on a series of artificial islets using massive basalt columns. All around the world, ancient people looked at the toughest material they could find, stone, and decided to make it their own, shaping it to leave a message for the future. So, why did they do it? Why go to all that trouble, spending generations building these colossal structures? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? One of the most common theories is that they were built for religious reasons. These might have been temples for worshiping gods, or sacred spaces for performing important community rituals. The sheer size of the monuments would have made them impressive focal points for a scattered population, places where people could come together for festivals or ceremonies. Building something so grand would have been an act of devotion, a way of honoring the powers they believed controlled their world. Another major theory is that many megaliths were tombs or monuments for the dead. A lot of them, like the dolmens in Korea or the passage graves in Ireland, contain human remains. These weren't just simple burials. They were elaborate houses for the ancestors. People might have believed that honoring the dead in this way would ensure their protection and goodwill for the living community. These structures could have served as a powerful link between the world of the living and the realm of the spirits, a permanent home where the ancestors could be consulted and revered through the ages. Astronomy almost certainly played a huge part as well. Many megalithic sites, most famously Stonehenge and Newgrange, are aligned with amazing precision to celestial events. They mark the summer and winter solstices, or the rising and setting of the sun and moon at specific times of the year. For early farming communities, this would have been incredibly important. Knowing when the seasons were turning would have been vital for planting crops and managing herds. These structures could have functioned as giant calendars, helping people to understand and predict the cycles of nature that govern their survival. But perhaps the simplest reason is also one of the most powerful: community. The act of building a megalith would have required immense cooperation. It would have brought hundreds of people together, working towards a common goal. This shared project would have strengthened social bonds, established leadership, and given the community a powerful sense of shared identity and achievement. The monument itself would then stand as a permanent symbol of that unity and strength. It was a way of saying, we are here, we work together, and this is what we can achieve. Right, so we've got these ancient people with no modern machinery deciding to build massive stone monuments. The big question is, how did they manage it? The first step was quarrying the stone. They didn't have steel tools, so they used what they had. Archaeologists believe they used harder stone tools, like hammer stones, to chip away at the rock. Another clever technique was to cut grooves into the rock, pack them with dry wood, and then pour water on it. The wood would expand with incredible force, splitting the stone along the groove. It's simple, but absolutely ingenious when you think about it. Once they had their giant stones, they had to move them, sometimes over many miles. This is where the real head-scratching begins. The most likely method involved sheer muscle power and clever thinking. It's believed they used wooden sledges, placing them on a track of rolling logs to reduce friction. With enough people pulling on ropes, they could slowly but surely drag even the heaviest stones across the landscape. Experiments have shown this is entirely possible. It would have been slow, back-breaking work, but with time and a massive, coordinated workforce, it could be done. Getting the stones upright was another major challenge. For standing stones or menhirs, they probably dug a large hole with a sloping ramp on one side. They would slide the base of the stone down the ramp into the hole. Then, using long wooden levers and teams of people pulling on ropes, they would have heaved the stone into a vertical position. Once it was upright, they would pack earth and smaller stones into the hole to secure it firmly in place. It's a fantastic example of using basic physics, leverage, and counterweights to achieve something monumental. The ongoing mystery of the megaliths is precisely why they continue to capture our imagination. While we have good theories, we don't know everything for sure. We weren't there. This leaves room for wonder and speculation, which is why these sites are still popular tourist destinations and subjects of intense study. Each visit and every new archaeological dig offers a chance to connect with our distant ancestors. These stones are a tangible link to a past that is almost beyond our comprehension, a powerful reminder of the ingenuity, determination, and deep spiritual lives of the people who built them. They are a puzzle written in stone, and we may never find all the pieces.